All right. Looks like we are probably live. I'm doing this a little bit differently than I've done it in the past, so you'll have to let me know if audio and video is coming through okay, chat. What's up, Fight the Good Fight? Got Big Russ in the house. Ooh, looks like Starset became a Bronze Age hero. That's awesome. GT key. Okay, audio good, video good. Okay, so there's a lot to go over tonight, guys. First of all, I'm glad to be back. It's been a while. I've had a lot going on. We are going to dive into that. X11 Bravo in the house. We got the Copper Age Babe holding it down upstairs. If you don't know, that's my wife. Appreciate everybody being here. So, first up, I guess I need to explain the absence, right? I haven't had recorded videos up in a while. I haven't had any live streams in a while. I've had, I think, a live stream more recently than I had recorded videos up. Here's what's going on. First of all, if you're familiar with what was happening, if you watched my live auctions I was trying to do, if you watch my live streams, I was having a lot of technical issues. So audio was not working for me. It would be choppy. This mic is a nice Elgato wavelength. That's a pretty nice mic. I mean, it's, it's decent. It's not cheap. Let's put it that way. It's not like a $30 USB mic like I used to use. This camera, I wish it was better, but it is, it's a nice webcam. It's a 4K webcam. And those two things were not playing nice with my streaming software. Thank you. I appreciate that, Copper Age Babe. It's a little hard for me to highlight chat right now, but I'm doing my best. I appreciate that. So I was having tons of problems. And the real heart of the issue is my computer wasn't powerful enough to run what I wanted to run. So I was trying to downscale everything as much as I could to like lower than 720p. I was using my webcam microphone, which I hated using because it's very echoey. I mean, it's a webcam mic. And I stopped wanting to stream for those reasons. And I was working on, okay, what can I do to fix this? The audio stuff was really weird to me. I don't know if my software was just using too much RAM or what. It was very strange, or CPU usage or whatever. Anyways, the point is, I had PC problems. Also, I'm in the middle of a windstorm, and I hear the wind outside, and I'm sure my wife hears it even more upstairs. So there's a chance I could lose power, which would really suck because I have a lot of stuff I want to get through tonight. So the computer problem, you might be like, well, why does it look and sound so good? I have a new computer. I also have a wonderful family. Granted, we're just, making payments on a computer, but my wife was awesome enough to be like, hey, this is your Christmas present. There was an awesome Black Friday deal on HP. Had a, stellar lineup on some specs of some computer stuff that I wanted. And I went ahead and pulled the trigger. My parents kicked in some money, which I'm very grateful for. And so that computer arrived. I still have a lot of setup to do. Like I need to tweak the mic stuff, tweak a lot of things, but already I think we're looking and sounding better than we used to, right? So that's a win. Gets me back on board. And I really wanted to do all that before my next Mission 22 auction, which is part 2 of the charity auction. We already raised over $1,300 for Mission 22 in our first charity auction, which is super awesome. And I'm hella excited about that. So that's the first kind of hurdle that I dealt with. The second thing is I've been really sick, and I apologize if I cough or have throat or nasal issues or whatever during the show. I'm still getting over it. It's been lingering. To quote Pineapple Express, he's a fucking lingerer. It's been really tough. If I'm just sitting down and like watching something or playing something, which is pretty rare, but if I'm doing that, I feel okay. As soon as I start to move around, short of breath, I don't want to, I don't know, could have been COVID, could have been RSV, could have been a lot of things, whatever. I've just been sick. Not sure, didn't need to get tested. It wasn't really a big deal. I'll get into part of the reason why I didn't need to get tested in a second. So it's been kicking my ass, and I'm still not 100% over it. I feel like walking upstairs or something like that, I get really winded and really fatigued. that kind of thing. So I'm still getting over that. And I've had to do some stuff recently, cleaning up, that kind of stuff around the house, trying to get ready for Christmas and the holidays, because I'm going to be very busy. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on this, but I have a major family life event coming up. My dad isn't doing too well in one respect, and hopefully everything will get ironed out. But there's going to be some stuff going on, some surgery, long recovery time. It's going to take a couple months, and I'm going to need to be very much hands-on with that process. So I've had a lot on my plate, and that's in addition to everything my wife has going on. I'm raising, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I raise our 4-year-old daughter on a daily basis, and all those things that happen, right? Like life happens. A lot of life stuff. So it's been really hard to be on YouTube and to be doing live streams and doing auctions and that kind of stuff with computer problems, with being sick, with dealing with some serious family stuff. However, this is a stream of revenue. This is a passion of mine. It's something that I need to be more of a part of, even if that's not, record levels of videos or record levels of auctions or any of that kind of stuff. The auctions, I shared with you guys, from just the YouTube stuff alone, I maybe make like 120, 150 bucks a month doing that. It's not much, guys. So when you see me do auctions, that's why I don't work at a day job. So that's kind of all the transparency kind of stuff that I want to throw at you. And the reason why I haven't been around much. So I'm going to be around more. And there's a chance I could be around less pretty soon. But I think, even with everything going on, I'm still going to be able to put out videos. Editing videos is going to be a lot easier for me. Editing videos was a nightmare on my old computer. It was like waiting 10 or 15 seconds for frames to advance sometimes while I was editing, which is really sucks. You're trying to cut between two things and you're trying to merge those scenes together. It's very difficult when your computer is acting very slow. So again, thankful to my family for helping support me and knowing that this is a big deal for me. I think my wife's happy because now I'll play Fortnite with her a little more often and not be limited by a bad computer, that kind of stuff too. So there's some tangible benefits. I see some stuff rolling through chat I want to talk about real fast. Thank you very much, K-pop. I appreciate that. Awesome. Glad we're looking good. Thanks, Starset. And thanks for becoming a member, by the way. Saw that. That's awesome. Absolutely. X11 Bravo, Mrs. Band, and the Bronze Fam for the win. So awesome. Yeah, we absolutely did what we could to help out with that. Thanks, Manny. I appreciate you hopping in here. I also appreciate that too. Thanks a lot, X11 Bravo. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Obviously stuff comes first, but I mean, this is a priority too for a lot of reasons, not just one reason, not just money or any of that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of reasons why. And we'll get to that. There is, the thumbnail of this show. Yes, there's going to be a bit of a rant going on. Preston, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. That means a big deal to me. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Fortnite, date nights, the family that slays together stays together, right? 'Tis the season. Speaking of which, by the way, thanks again, Preston, for that. Thanks again for all the well wishes there, everybody. I do want to say, hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I do have a package here from Starset that we're going to open up here in a little bit, and I do want to get to that. It's an AOK that I've been waiting for a long time. I don't know what he sent. It's a mystery to me, so I'm really excited to see it. He was cool with me opening it off stream, but I was like, man, I really want to open it on stream just because if you don't remember the last time that he sent me something that was pretty cool, and I feel just beyond humbled by the stuff he's done for me in the past. So he's a fantastic part of the community. Starset Comics, give him a follow on his IG. Go, check out anything he's doing on Whatnot or Drip or. I think he posts some of his eBay links occasionally. Go support him if you can. He's a really good guy. Thanks, Preston. I appreciate you coming through. There will be stuff to talk about for sure. Absolutely. So, okay, let me take a sip of my hot beverage here. Made some cider. That is super hot, so I might not actually get a sip of that. I'm gonna drink some water. I wanted a hot beverage for my throat. I'll have to wait on that. Okay, so the topics for tonight are going to be pretty fun. I am going to get a little animated. I'm going to probably do this unboxing first. But actually, you know what? The results of my poll came in. First of all, I asked all of you, where should I do part 2 of my Mission 22 charity auction? And I said, should it be Drip? Should it be Whatnot? Which originally Whatnot was kind of what I was planning on. Or should it be YouTube? And the overwhelming majority of people said YouTube. So we're going to do it on YouTube. It's going to be here on YouTube. And I want to announce the date. You'll see a lot of promo stuff on my social media coming up. I'm going to promote all that. It's going to be Saturday, December 3rd. Am I right on the date on that? Saturday, December 3rd. Most likely at 9 p.m. If I can go earlier, like I get my kiddo down to sleep or whatever, I will. So I don't have the show up yet. It was just officially decided before the show started. So tomorrow morning I'll have the preview of that video up, of that live stream. So go ahead when if you're subscribed to my channel, which it's helpful if you are, go ahead and click, remind me or notify me on that video when it's up, so that you do get reminded about it. Because I might go on an hour early. I might go on 45 minutes earlier. Worst case scenario, it'll be 9 p.m. Pacific on Saturday. I'd love to go earlier. And I have some really awesome items. I'll show some of them real fast. Gamma Base sent in some cool books. Got this Harley Quinn Frank Tro incentive. Got Ninja Funk. You've probably been, talking about Ninja Funk out there a little bit. I think that's the Matina foil Death of Superman. Got some Catwoman 71 there. Let's Rebuild. And got a local comic shop day Spider-Man. I'm not sure. Some of those he wants me to do for giveaways on the channel. I haven't really figured out which ones yet, but he sent those in. Stuff that had left over from the last auction. The Closet. I got a whole run of Primordial to show you issue 1. The Me You Love in the Dark. I got the whole run of Heavy Metal Drummer. That's really cool. That's not like ash can size, but it's a smaller sized. I got these in from Trish Forstner. She sent Agritsuko. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She sent that sketch cover in. She did that. It's awesome. And she did that too. So we're gonna auction those off on the charity auction. Killer something or House of Slaughter, Erica Slaughter sketch cover that Chin Potter did. That is really cool. Nerdy Girl Comics is sending in some really cool stuff. Some Golden Age, some Golden Age, some Bronze Age. She's sending in Alpha Flight #1. I think it was in a 9.6 slab. So she's sending in some really cool stuff too. So thank you to all those people sending in stuff. I'm in talks with somebody at Dynamite, but it might not get here in time, or they may not be able to send it out in time. So we'll see. But lots of stuff coming. So really, try to be here for that charity auction. Yeah, the decor, there's a lot to catch up on. You guys keep me busy with a lot to catch up on. Oh no, I can't resize that window or else chat won't show up correctly. So there's a lot going on for this charity auction. It's a big deal to me because we already raised over $1,300. I want to see what we can do with this second part. I'll throw in some of my stuff too. Russ sent in. Russ is here. He sent in a slab. He sent in. Got to get this chat out of the way. Make sure I don't have the glare on there. He sent in this X-Men 210 slab. That's really cool. So there's gonna be a lot of fun stuff. Slabs, original art, sketch covers, runs, exclusives. Some of the like New York City Comic Con exclusives will be up for it on auction as well. So there's a lot. So that's going to be December 3rd. Starset, if you want to send a couple more, if you can get it here in time, 100%. 100%. Please do. If you want to. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I've got a decent amount. It's one of those things where I don't want to. If you have stuff that's you really think is going to draw people in, sure, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, this is the highlight D-Course comment earlier. Oh, nice. That's awesome. We got Big Russ in the house. Again, thanks for sending that in. Manny's still here holding it down, holding it down. So, yeah, I've been sitting on this package for a while. Let's unbox this. This is from Starset Comics, who... if you don't know, and I know this is okay for me to say, Starset Comics, we're talking about veteran charity auctions. Starset is active duty military, and he's sending in stuff for these veteran auctions. That is extremely cool. I have a feeling the wind is picking up if my wife is posting that. So he's an amazing human being in the comic book community, let alone in real life. So give it up for Starset. Go give him a follow. You know, his IG is a good place to do that. I think it's just, I want to say it's Starset Comics on IG. But you search Starset, it should come up. It's all one word, and he's in chat, so you can see what his name looks like. Yeah, no, I know you won't, dude. I know you won't send junk. 100% know you won't send that. That's funny. Yeah, so they're probably pretty bad for the wind. Starset is fantastic. And Starset became a channel member. So while I'm opening this real fast, if you're not familiar with channel memberships on my channel, I do giveaways at the end of each month, or the beginning of the next month, basically, where you can win some free comic books. Kilted Corgi won the last one, and I actually got to send his books off still. I had kind of a hard time getting his address, and yeah, it's really fun. So that's one of the perks that you get for that. Plus, you get access to all the really smooth emoji, like the booty emoji I made, and all that stuff. All right, so this is, I think this came back from CBCS. Don't know what it is yet. Gotta... Okay, so there's a note on here. He kept saying Toxic Avenger. It was an 80s property. He said it was a Copper Age book. And again, this is a gift from Starset, who he sent me the first appearance of Wolverine last time he did this. So, you know, I'm not saying that's what's in here or something like that, but that is the level of awesomeness he did. So his hint here is this is one Toxic Avenger, even though he was sponsored by a captain. A Toxic Avenger. Hawkeye? Kind of toxic. Iron Man was kind of toxic. He was drunk for a while. He was an Avenger. That's an interesting one. Because Captain would have been his sponsor, maybe. So, we're going to open this up. Starset, before I even dive in here, you're awesome for doing this, man. Like, just the level of good stuff you do in the community, it never ceases to amaze me, man. All right. Let's see what we got in here. We got some more paper. It's packed well. I'm going to try to let the camera be where I see this for the first time. Okay. So we got the slab. I hope I hold it right side up. All right. Winter Soldier. That's a good guess. Hey, Nauman, how's it going? All right. I honestly think the Siege series. Yeah, you said you read the Siege. So Thor? Thor was a pretty big deal in the Siege series. Sentry. I'm trying to remember what happened in Siege. I don't know, man. I'm just going to have to be surprised by what it is. I can't figure out the clues. Holy dude. I did not expect that, man. Whoa. You said Copper Age, and I was like thinking like Copper Age, and you said it was something you knew I wanted, and I was like the only thing I could think of is ASM 300, but like that's a big book. Brendan, thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. So that is really cool. Wow. And yeah, Newsy too. That is awesome, man. Thank you very much. Wow. So, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, newsstand. This is the book that every time I walk into an antique store, every time I walk into like a secondhand store, every time I walked up to a garage sale, I always hoped that there would be like this book in there. It's the book that I remember seeing. I've been a comic collector for a long time, walking into my LCS, and when I was like 8 or 10, around kind of in that age bracket, I remember seeing so many of these in the long boxes and thinking that's a cool cover. But I didn't know. I didn't know when I was that young. I didn't know that this was the first full appearance of Venom. Let's call it that, right? I like the cameo in 299 and all that stuff. Obviously, iconic cover, which is actually a Hulk homage, by the way, if you don't know that. McFarlane's own cover. I can't remember the Hulk issue off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody in chat will get me. But I remember seeing that, like, probably like 10 or 15 copies and being like, that's really cool. And I just never thought about it. Because, I mean, even then, it was probably like a $5 or $10 book. I can't remember exactly. And I just was like, it's one of those books that, like, at the time, you guys probably have books like this today. You see it and you're like, yeah, I'll get it sometime. But right now I want to grab that next X-Men book or whatever. And then, like, they were gone. Like, at one point, they were just gone. And you're just like, oh, okay. And then, like, I knew what it was by that point, and I'm like, oh, well, that's probably why it was gone. And then it got more and more and more and more and more and more and more expensive. And it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, now I have to hope I get lucky and find it at an antique store or find it, some crazy place. And then, and then you are lucky enough to do this as a hobby and try to connect with people and reach out to people in the comic book community, try to share the way you think about the collecting hobby with people, and you meet somebody who is amazing enough to appreciate what you do, to like you enough, to be generous enough to send you this. And that is crazy. All that is my way of saying thank you, man. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm seriously moved. You're too kind, man. You're too kind. I gotta look at chat here. Sorry. Think the Siege series. Okay, it's all starting to make sense. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Okay, it's all making sense now, man. Just yeah, everybody here. Steven, by the way, hi. I don't think I've said hi to you yet. Yeah, very nice indeed. Thank you very much. Yeah, newsstand. Very amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing, dude. Yeah, literally. My wife knows me, and she knows that's a near impossible. Thank you, B Price. So Starset, yeah, it took forever to get back from CBCS. They did a good job with the press, though. Yeah, that's cool, man. I was just kind of looking. The ticks are pretty small on the spine. I do see them, but they're for a black edge. I don't know how reflections a B, but there's a few little ones on there which yeah, newsstand, right? I don't 8.0, like that's a higher grade than I ever thought I'd own this book in. 344. Thank you. I was like 340 is just stuck in my head cuz that's probably the I mean this would have been cuz I have a 301, which is obviously a direct homage to this one. And then 301, 300, 301. I can't remember. It's like 310, I think, or 307. The Action Comics homage that he did is a great cover. And then Hulk 340 is like the other McFarlane Marvel cover that I really love too. So, but yeah, this was the king for sure. Oh, dude, yes, very, 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 very Merry Christmas. Yeah, very very awesome too. I skipped a comment there. Manny says the ASM 300 is white whale. I remember walking to LCS and seeing 298, 299, 300, and the owner told me to buy 300, but it was $100. Yeah, yeah. Well, and I was smart, and when they were kind of cheap and everybody was hunting 300, I picked up a 298. I picked up a 299. I picked up a 301 at an LCS. Actually, that was just a nice score. The other books I was just patient on, and I just happened to find good deals because people were hunting 300 more. And 300 it was out of reach. So, wow, I am just speechless on this. It makes it kind of hard to get motivated to rant about some things and be angry though, because I'm kind of angry about some stuff. Not anymore, but no, I got to put myself back in that headspace. Apple cider is so good on a stormy fall evening. So we need to talk about some stuff, comic community. I've been out of the game for a little bit. Not really. I've been watching from the sidelines, and here's what I think we need to talk about. Every day, every week for sure, but it feels like every day, there's some drama going on in the comic book community. And honestly, I was a pretty, sorry, I just bumped the camera there. A pretty big part of the C2E2 scandal in a very secondary way. And it's funny decor. And I rode through all that, and I felt like, well, I'm not a journalist. I tried to approach that whole situation the way I've always approached everything on my channel. And if you're kind of not familiar with what that involves, a lot of it involves the way I look at things. There's a dust mote floating in front of the camera. I look at things in a very logical fashion, or I attempt to. I operate from a position of logic as a default. And I also look at things often as a devil's advocate. And why do that? It's because most people don't. Most people either fall into a modality of a knee-jerk emotional reaction, good, bad, rage, love, lust, greed, emotions, right? Or a contrarian perspective. And for a long time, I thought I was a contrarian, but I'm really not necessarily a contrarian. What I'm able to do is take a situation and remove myself from it somewhat. You can never do it 100%. Like if it involves the comic community, if it involves influencers, and we'll get into that a little bit. As I'm involved in those circles, I can't completely remove myself, but I can as a thought experiment attempt to. And I can look at the situation and I can say, what is my thoughts on this? And more importantly, what are people not thinking about? What are people ignoring? What are people letting slip through the cracks here? Real fast, I want to acknowledge the super chat. Wilbert comes in with a $19.99 super chat. Thank you very much, Wilbert. That's very awesome of you. And yes, it is very cool of Starset. I'll be sending him a message after the stream is over. I made sure to message him before the stream started because I'm like, dude, you got to know I'm opening this. Luckily, I knew that he was going to be up. Chicanery is a good word. Good word. I don't want to forget highlighting Decor's comment there. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it, Starset. I'm a big believer. I was just talking on a live stream to Naman, who's in here, Comic Bookworm, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name correctly, Comic Bookworm. I was talking to him about the thing I did, Comic Karma. It was hashtag Comic Karma. I went through and did that based on the last time that Starset sent me something. And I'm a big believer in that. And that I'm talking about this specifically because it ties into what I'm trying to talk about tonight. I don't literally believe in karma in the sense of, like, I don't believe that there is a universal force that gives and pushes away or takes away from some and gives to others to try to balance things out. I don't personally believe in that. And it's fine if you do. But what I do believe in is if you put positivity out into a community, if you put logic out into a community, if you be the change in the world you want to see, you are, in a small way, creating a positive force. And I believe in that deeply. When I try to do things like, I did the Mad charity auction in Psychotron's name. The Mission 22 auction I did. The other one I'm about to do. And I've already decided I'm done for 2022, but in 2023, I'm going to do mental health related charities. And probably annually do Veterans Day related charities. The reason I do all that stuff is because I believe in being the change in the world I want to see. Putting that energy out there. And that's part of the reason that I started doing a comic book related YouTube channel. I wanted to do a YouTube channel for a lot of reasons I've talked about in the past. I'm not going to go into it. But the reason why it was comic books is because I thought we needed a different voice in the comic book. Social media, like influencer. Let's talk about that for a second. Influencer is a term that I see thrown out there all the time. And it's actually kind of relatively newly being applied to this. Whatever you want to call this. It's not really the comic book community. It's more about the comic book speculation community. When we're talking about, I'm thinking if I want to name names. I'll just name names so we know who we're all talking about. We all know Gem Mint, Comic Tom, and I'm not just talking about the C2E2 stuff and also, Very Gary Comics, Pressable Defects. I could go on and on and on. There's lots of names. I'm not leaving people out on purpose. I'm not naming specific people on purpose other than, Nerdy Girl, all the people, Skeff, all the people that we know in this community that are household names in our group. We've labeled those people influencers in a really weird way. And influencers is a very new term, and it's a very relative term. You could define influencers in a lot of different ways. You could define it literally, somebody who can influence somebody else. But when you talk about influencers, where that term really comes from, it doesn't really relate to anybody in our group. If you want to call me part of that group, I don't know. But, I'd say, like, of those channels that talk about comic book speculation, even though it's not the primary thing he does, but he does to go do it on Comic Tom, Gem Mint's probably the biggest name by subscribers. I think you could call him like a statue or omnibus collector influencer. Maybe. But my point is I don't really look at that term, and I'm interested to hear your opinions. I don't really think of those people as influencers. An influencer, like where that term comes from, think about like, and I'm so terrible with this. I don't even know those people that have like millions of followers on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat back in the day, or Twitter followers, or they have hundreds of millions of unique impressions and that kind of stuff. And a brand comes to them and says, "We want you to showcase our lifestyle product, our diet powder drink, or whatever." So that's where really the term influencer is directed, in my opinion. It's for those kinds of people, and people get caught up on this. But remember, if you, again, take yourself out of it, take yourself out of the comic community, comic book speculating community, and look at it from the outside. That term influencer, people hated that term 10 years ago when it was applied to, I don't know, like Logan Paul or whoever, right? I don't know. I don't want to pick on any one person. I'm trying to think, like, I don't know a lot of those names. Kim Kardashian, right? Like, I don't know a lot of those names, but people automatically grow to resent those people for a lot of different reasons. Jealousy can be one of those reasons, but there's a lot of other reasons why too. Just disgust or whatever too, of course. But we've gone and we've started calling these people in the comic book community influencers. And I don't really think that's the right way to look at it. Even if they are technically influential people, if certain people in our community were to post a picture tomorrow and say, "This book is hot," or "This book is going to be hot because," and maybe they have a good reason, and that influences the market. Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's an influencer thing. But the problem I have with all this is we've come into this dichotomy of us and them. We've taken tribalism and we've made it this big push and pull. And every convention that happened, as time went on, I was sick of hearing about people cutting in line, people buying a bunch of copies, bootleg comics. I was sick of that. You know what else I was sick of? Everybody grabbing their fucking pitchforks and acting like they're holier than thou, high and mighty in this community, like they have some kind of power to cast down anybody who tries to go and make money on comic books or something. I get so tired of hearing about Whatnot, the Whatnotters, the Whatnot crew. I'm so tired of hearing about all of it, just as much as I'm tired of the people that might or might not be at the cause of those issues. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be critical of the actions of people within our community. And of course, everybody should have their own opinion. I'm not here to tell you how to think, and I'm never going to do that. But I'll tell you how I feel. And I don't feel like this is healthy. I don't feel like this is the right way to approach things. I'm so tired of hearing about some of the reactions, the hot takes on people. Well, us and them. Sorry, chat's kind of off to my side here. Let me see if I can get it a little bit more in front of me here. Okay. This is a little hard to do. I will get this cleaned up in the future, but the way I'm doing this is a little different than I'm not doing this on StreamYard or anything. Let me get caught up. I don't want to ignore anybody in chat here. I love to influence the world. You're all influencers. Embrace it. Own it. Yeah, I don't agree though. And I think you said that a while ago. When I hear influencer, I auto see mommy bloggers hyping. That's a really solid interpretation of influencer in the traditional sense. It's a new term. The community really is built to provide a conduit for those high profile people in that community to be able to sell their brand. We can have a common love of comics. Yeah, that's a good point. The aliens influence me through my feelings unless I wear my special aluminum hat. A community is not a place where one person profits because of the others in it. That's a great point. Yeah. Casey Neistat. That's a really good pull. Thank you. And that's fair. Every interpretation, every definition of influencer, you're free to your own definitions. I'm just saying, like, I think maybe we kind of need to take a step back and really think about where we're applying that. Hey, Skeff's in the house. Skeff just hopped in. What book did you say was going to be Oh, man. Deathmate Black, man. Gen 13's coming back. Hot tea is really good. Hot tea is really good, Doug. I'm drinking some hot apple cider here. I want to be the Kim Kardashian of the comic book community, but my ass is too small. Mine too. My ass. I have a Hank Hill ass, so that's not going to happen. Dinos have juicy butts. That's probably true. So, Decor, this is what I wanted to say. I was trying to get through all the comments to get back to yours. Us versus them. The us versus them could be a lot of different things, really. And part of my pulling back in my devil's advocate and the way I look at things is not to get too caught up in who individuals are that we're trying to talk about. And I named individuals that I thought were kind of being ascribed the influencer tag. Skeff's in here. He's one of the people I mentioned. But that's not to single them out in any way, shape, or form. I intentionally did not do that when it came to C2E2, by the way. And there were a lot of people up in my comments. Name names. What are you talking about? You talked to a bunch of people that were there. What did they say? Why? Why do you need to get your pitchforks out and know exactly who said what? Who did what? I think it's related to a large chunk of the same reason that people want to know who Kim Kardashian's dating. People want to be gossipy and mad about shit. That's just my opinion, but that's what I think. The Turok, the game was cool. The comics, I need to read some of the old comics. Dinos are thick. I feel like Dino Riders or whatever is going to come back. Yeah, that's a good point about Whatnot. That's one of the things I want to talk about. I'm trying not to ramble too much here on any one thing, but there's so much hate about Whatnot. And I really have some soured opinions about Whatnot on certain things. If a lot of you know, I went and started selling on Drip. I think there's some drawbacks to Drip. I think there's some drawbacks to selling on Instagram Live. I think there's some drawbacks. There's pros and cons to everything. But Whatnot, I think, has some issues that they should address. And a lot of it, I think, is related to how they treat streamers of all levels on every aspect of, you're a brand new streamer, you're a streamer that's been trying for a long time and can't break through, you're big streamers that are bringing a lot of money. All the layers of that strata, I think they should consider how they're approaching some of those sellers and what they're doing for them, what tools they're providing for them, what kind of lessons they can teach them, those sorts of things. And I think there's some interesting moral quandaries when you get into partnering with CGC, partnering with not partnering, but publishing now. There's some things that need to be discussed. I like the way you think, K-pop. I'm sorry, Brandon. The comment was so long ago. Unfortunately, I don't know which one you were relating to there. There's a difference between the comic industry, the comic hobby, the comic community, and the comic family, as clarified by Doc Morph earlier today on IG. I don't know exactly what the definition laid out there, but on the surface level, I agree. Those are different circles. Comic community, comic family. Yeah, the whole comic family thing, like I still use the hashtag IG comic family, IG comic book family, because it's a really big tag on IG, and I kind of wonder about using it sometimes, but like I don't mean it like comic fam. I don't mean it like that. I think that's kind of like that's like a Geminites, it's almost like a thing, right? Like we know who we're talking about when we say that. It's a tribe. It's a tribalism thing. Kicked my roommate out. Nice. You plan to. You should share your plan, right? Oh my God, I am way behind. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get caught up a little bit faster. Um, well, okay, so I'm gonna go back to this for 1 second. Is it Chien and Kuhn? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. To include Kardashian, but she is somebody who hawked products, like sold products, right? That's what I mean when I say that. Because a lot of influencers are celebrities, whether they're celebrities from, I mean, like, what was she, a model? I don't even really know what she came from. Whatnot itself isn't the problem, nor is eBay or anything else. It's never going to be. I'm never going to be a fan of the extreme hype men, women on those platforms making things seem much more important than they are. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. I can't even keep track. Back in the day, corporations would have you apply to be their influencer programs. You just needed a blog. I got hooked on it 15 years ago. Had to walk away. Yeah, that's a good point. Only reason I ask is because I myself have been labeled now an influencer, but I definitely don't do it or fit the definitions of others. Well, okay, Decor, you're offering this up, dude. You're just as much of an influencer as whoever you want to talk about, whoever you talk about on a regular basis. You're the same thing with a different point of view. There's nothing wrong with that setup, by the way. There's nothing wrong with speaking your mind, but you don't think when you post that people are influenced by what you say? They are, buddy. They 100% are. It was so fake. People are, yeah. I can only I can only imagine what a terrible nightmare that was. That is like purgatory or hell to me. Like I can't stand those types of personalities. Well, on a certain level, I agree with you, B. Price. Like when you get right down to it, he's like, I got too many of these books. What the fuck do I do with them? Okay, I mean that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm not going to argue with your definition there. If the comic fam is a tribal thing, then my question is, why does anyone have to cliche out and make anything more group? Do you mean click out and make anything more groups other than the community it started as? Well, because things don't stay the same forever. I mean, I don't want to like dismiss your question, Decor, but like from the way I see that, it's very much like you're talking about. Think about how things evolve on social media, and social media and influencer are terms that are they're new but old at the same time. But we're constantly evolving this thing. Like when the lockdown happened and comic books started to spike, there was a huge wave of growth amongst YouTubers, Instagrammers, comic book lifestyle personalities. There's not a good term for it. It's so new, there's not a good term for it. But it's been happening for a couple of years now. And you have to realize that like this is an evolving thing. You know, very Gary Comics, when I first started watching him to where he is now, very different thing. Decor on Instagram, very different thing when I first started following you until now. The way that you are perceived in the community, and I don't mean you, I mean like the general second person you. The way that people are perceived in the community that are part of these different circles and groups. I mean, people have started to rally around their favorite personalities, and it could be anybody. It could be journos, Keep It Thorough, Pressable Defects, or whoever, right? They've started to rally around and like, well, I like them, but I don't like them. And that's what I'm trying to get at. I like them, but I don't like them. They don't like them, so I'm going to side with them. It's not healthy. It's kind of inevitable. I understand that too. Like at the end of the day, you can't change human nature. And if you look anywhere on social media, I am not about to talk politics here, other than to talk about it in a very general sense. You go to Facebook and talk politics, you're going to get certain cliches that are going to come up, certain ways of thinking that you see over and over and over again. And a lot of those, my point is, a lot of those are learned behaviors. And the same thing is happening in our community, our comic book community, whatever you want to call it. That's a good point, Big Russ. It's a maturity issue at its core. I just saw that comment. It's some comments that just stick out to me. They're actually, I think they're still doing pretty decently last time I looked, which was admittedly was a while ago. There you go. You support the dogs. Yeah, I mean that's speculation, though. I mean, but again, your definition is your definition. I'm not going to argue with it. But to me, that's comic book speculators, which is something that I vowed not to do. I didn't. If you go look at my channel, you will find one video, and I just say this as full disclosure. I'm not taking it down or anything. I made like a top 5 G.I. Joe comics to buy if you're looking to speculate on those a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and knowing is half the battle there. And I made that video just because I know a lot about G.I. Joe comic books, and I thought it was kind of fun. I know a lot about other comic books too, and I don't make those videos for them. So I just kind of tried it out. And I don't like the idea. Like, I could do those videos, that content pretty easily. So I started doing the opposite, right? I said, devil's advocate, let's not look at the top 10 to buy, top key collector turning 20, all those. Let's flip that on its head and look at the worst comic books on those lists, and then let's see how they do over time. And that's kind of what I like to do. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's just that's kind of like, talk about cliche. That is kind of a cliche now for the way speculation works, and it's catching up. Like, as far as like, it doesn't really work the same way anymore. That's well said, X11. That's well said. Yeah, I agree with that, Journey. That's a good point. And this to me is very much true of what's going on here. It is a maturity issue. So the problem, I'll just say this. The problem is, I'm using that in a very loose way here because I'm tired, is that you're also a character. And since you're a character, it's hard to know when you're being thoroughly serious or when you're being on brand for your character, kind of. Okay, yeah, I get you. I'm on the same page with that. I understand that. The changes in the hobby or the community is what's creating the divide, and that's just inevitable over time. I'm trying to dissect that. It's the changes in the hobby or the community that's creating the divide. Interesting. I'm trying to think if I fully agree with that. I know what you're saying, and I do get it. But which way am I pointing here on the screen? This way. That is true. And that's the second order of this conversation I wanted to have. So I'm going to kind of move into that a little bit. I'm still going to try to read through chat a little bit here. This is very hard to do. I got to figure out the way to pop this out better. It's amazing the cult-like atmosphere that comes from some of those followers. You can see it daily on Whatnot. Speak a fact about something they don't want to hear. See how you get. Yeah, that happens all the time, for sure. No, and there's room for that too. I don't mean to belittle that. Hate sells. The figure drawing said it. Not exactly how I would personally phrase it, but it's not untrue. And I would say, in addition to hate sells, which again, that's not the banner I would rally behind necessarily, but you're not necessarily wrong. There's also another aspect too, which is it feels good to be reaffirmed. So if you put something out there, and this is very core to social media. I'll use myself as an example. There's times where I've put out a meme or two because I like to make them and I think it's fun, and I like to try to use humor or sarcasm to illustrate an issue. And I know it catches people's attention. And if that gets 100 likes, if that gets 150 likes or whatever, and I'm a very small Instagrammer, I'm a small YouTuber, that's a lot for me. If I get that kind of reaction, I feel good. It feels good. What am I more likely to do? I'm more likely to do that again. I'm more likely to make another meme or make another comment or post like that. And I don't want to name names here. Very much not my point. But I have to kind of talk about this behavior. And again, it's not that I'm excusing the behavior of the people that are being discussed on these different platforms and venues. But when you make posts about people or groups all the time, when you make videos about them all the time, when you make comments about them all the time, when you become a broken record over and over and over again on certain topics, part of it is from looking back and looking at it, it seems like part of it is to get that dopamine rush of affirmation, of people supporting you, of people, because look, people are mad. Anytime that you have talk about, these comics where a lot of this stuff comes from, it's about money too. In some cases, it's all about money. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that we started to see a uptick in vitriol at the same time we started to see a downtick in the economy. People were feeling it more. Money became a lot more important, a lot scarcer. When you're talking about selling a comic book, the margin that you receive on it, that kind of stuff, it matters a lot more. So people take it a lot more seriously if something doesn't pan out, or if they don't get something that somebody else does. If they feel like people are being ripped off, it ups the ante, right? People have easier access to one's feelings than to one's logic. I agree with that. Very well said, Comic Book Worm. I want to highlight that for a second. You hit the nail on the head when you said tribalism. It's definitely part of it. Some people just jump in chats because they know the hate is happening and they like to egg it on. 100%. Pitchfork Mafia. It is real. And that's the thing. There's a time and a place for that. If hypothetical scenario came up, we're all outraged by it, and let's say it involved a company. It doesn't even have to be a real example, but it just happens. And we're all upset about it in this community, whatever you want to define this community as. We can have a powerful reaction to that and enact change. We see it happen often. But when it just becomes da 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 da, and every time, there's certain people that I watch in this community, and every time they talk about something, it's about whatnot. Every time they talk about something, it's about exclusives. Every time they talk about something, it's about influencers. Every time they talk about something, it's like things are more nuanced than that. You can't just sit around and, I'm just going to use Whatnot as an example here. Again, Whatnot can have its issues, and there's a lot of reasons why it can have issues. 100%. I am not going to deny that. But also, at the same time, Whatnot is not the root of all evil. It's not the root of all evil in the comic book speculation community. And I'm saying that objectively from my viewpoint. And I respect people who have different opinions, but I can't look at it and say like, this is it. This is the smoking gun. They're intertwined with what's going on. They play a part in what's going on. I'm not disputing those things. But I just can't look at it. Every time that they've been at the center of some controversy, C2E2 is a really good example. People blaming Whatnot all day long. And I just, hold on, like, wait a minute. So people bought a bunch of copies of this comic book. Take everything else out of the equation. They bought a bunch of copies of this comic book and they listed them on eBay. Is Whatnot to blame for that? There were a lot of assumptions made at that time about Whatnot did or didn't do. And I have it on very firm authority on certain aspects of everything that happened, that they're not the ones who are responsible for what a lot of people think they are. Again, that doesn't mean that they didn't play some role in what happened. But what happened is you had people live streaming from the show floor, and that's a high visibility, quick, immediate consequence to something that happened there. So what does it look like? It looks like it was Whatnot doing it. And I really think that a lot of people stopped at that conclusion and they've been stuck on it ever since. And they look at everything that happens through that lens. I'm not going to like waste my breath defending Whatnot. I don't have an interest in doing that. I have a Whatnot account. I haven't streamed on it in a very long time. Will I again? Like, I thought about doing the charity auction. I thought about doing that over on Whatnot because I did one on Drip and I was like, let's try it out or something. But it turns out we'll do it on YouTube. That's what my viewers wanted. It'll be great because it'll mean less fees too, for one thing. So more will go to the charity. But I think that's a very interesting way to look at the situations that are coming up. And the same thing happens when you talk about the personalities involved, the influencers, and I'll just use the air quotes on that. I think that there's a lot involved with that. And I think you really have to be careful looking at it that way. Hate may sell, but also the fact that people say or view what others see, but won't say or point out also sells. Hate may sell, but also the fact that people say or view what others see, but won't say or point out. Okay, so I'm trying to parse that. You're saying, for lack of a better interpretation, you're saying like people that are brave enough to say something that they won't say? Is that what you mean? I want to get your answer on that before I assume. Sex still sells more than hate. There's nobody posting a hate cover of the week. Good point. Dopamine spikes from negativity. We're talking about MCU spec. Boobs and booty are magical. I agree. The people who recommend those books nonstop have earned the anger of people who lost money over those books. Well, look at the flip side of that. I'm going to call you C and K, just so I don't have to butcher your name theoretically a bunch of times. Look at the flip side of that, C and K. They deserve all the hate, but not the people who just chose to listen to them. Why? I mean, like, if Jim Cramer tells you to buy a stock and you don't do some research on who Jim Cramer is and how often he's wrong, and you buy the stock, is it Jim Cramer's fault? Or is it your fault for not doing your own research? Comic fam survivor. That's pretty funny. One can rewire said backwards dopamine responses, but it can take a lot of time and a steel resolve. Yeah, that's true. Very, very much true. Uh, oh boy, I had a problem where I didn't get caught up on chat. Boys, that is yes. I mean, like if you want the good investment tips, here's the reason. Here's the real reason I don't do spec videos. It's boring, and it's fucking obvious what to buy. Yeah, sure, there are books that pop up and it's an exclusive, and if you bought it, you might, get 4 times your money if you flip it. And do I do that? Yeah, I do that from time to time. I personally definitely do that. I do that. But if you really want to invest in comics, first of all, there's better things to invest in than collectibles. There really are. But if you're young and you're playing the really long game, it's easy. What are the hot keys? Like really, what are the hot keys? First X-Men, first Avengers, first Iron Man. Buy those. It's so damn easy. It's so damn easy. Okay, let's see what Decor had to say here. Not to throw Whatnot under the bus, but a recent example of something you just described was their promotion of their book on a man's death, and the community rallied together and made the change. So, you're talking about Jason David Frank. I am not a Power Rangers fan. I'm sorry. I don't know a lot about what happened here. So I am familiar with the circumstances there. I did not have laser focused vision on it. I think I saw the Whatnot post that people talk about, and it didn't really seem like they were promoting the book to me. They said it's coming out, and they said that they're going to try to figure out a way to donate to a cause. To me, honestly, it seemed like they were getting ahead of the optics of having a book come out featuring somebody, the portrayal of somebody's portrayal of somebody who just died. I don't know, but it seemed like a good reason for people to jump on the bandwagon of hate, right? Yes, there's. Thank you, Dan's X-Men Comics. I appreciate that. There is a lot of nuance. Yes, bottom tier. Thank you. That's the other part of this, man. That's the other part of this. Like, we haven't even gotten there yet. Like, it's just so much. Like it's so much controversy, so much drama, and this is what I'm talking about. It builds into the cycle of hate watching, hate dopamine, that kind of stuff. Like people are getting fueled into that. That is fueling the fire. But a lot of us are super burnt out on it. Like, I don't want to hear about this stuff. Now, I don't think that means we shouldn't talk about it if something happens. And it's much like any other kind of tragedy that we see over and over again. You don't want to see the tragedy over and over again. And if it stopped, the world would be a better place. But until it does stop, we have to look at the real solutions to the problem. And this is kind of where a lot of this is going for me. The real solution to the problem is, if you don't like that type of behavior, if you truly are sick of it, if you're truly sick of seeing all this controversy talked about all the time, don't feed into the negativity of the people that are embracing it just as much as let's say you follow somebody who's a comic book content creator and you don't like something they did because you thought it was immoral, wrong, unethical. Well, what would I recommend to you? I'd recommend you stop following that person. And I'd also recommend you stop following the people that are trying to die on the hill to demonize that person. Put your energy somewhere else. Wrestling comments. Haha. Yes, wrestling. Doing the work and getting the heel turn is happening. I know wrestling. I don't know wrestling. I'm sorry. Um, See, heel. I knew that word. I understood that reference. Okay, so let's talk about that. Yeah, I mean, but why does it have to be a whatnot seller? Like, I mean, that person sold on whatnot. I get it, but I don't know. I've watched some Facebook lives and some Instagram lives with some pretty similar behavior. Let's put it that way. So I think to attribute that to whatnot, again, it's the visibility to our community. And that's because we've given it that power. And I'd say instead of, you know, trying to light some campaign to burn down whatnot, which is, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I think a more constructive approach would be to support other places to buy comics. And wherever, you know, obviously there's plenty of options, but my point is there's other live streaming platforms out there. There's a whole group of people, and I'm going to do my best to exclude myself from this group of people. But there's a whole group of sellers over on Drip that are comic book sellers that are trying to do other stuff than what Whatnot is doing, like the things that a lot of people have problems with sellers on Whatnot about. They're trying to do the complete opposite. I'm not saying it's 100% perfect. It's definitely not. Not as a platform. Not as you know, all the sellers on there aren't necessarily altruistic, but a lot of them are, and a lot of them are conscientiously doing something different than what's happening on Whatnot. I'm not going to get too far into it, but I've been streaming on Drip for a reason. Okay, I moved away from Whatnot to streaming on a different platform for a reason, and it doesn't mean I've completely burned a bridge with Whatnot and I'll never do it again. But I did. And I'm not sponsored by Whatnot. I don't care. I don't want to be sponsored by anybody. Like, as far as, you know, exclusive selling, that kind of stuff, I have no desire to do that. But give it the power carefully. And one of the ways people give power is by being on the app, supporting it. It's pretty simple. You know what? I'm gonna get back to that. Don't worry. Again, like, it's one of those things where I'm throwing this out there because I'm not up here constantly doing this, guys. There are channels that are just constantly streaming about this stuff, and it's nauseating after a while, like watching it just over and over and over and over and over. How can anybody like get that into it? Like, I just don't understand that mindset personally. I think, you know, again, important issues should be discussed. But at a certain point, you start watching some of these things and you're going, boy, it really seems like what's happening is you're getting a lot of clicks, a lot of views, a lot of impressions, a lot of support, a lot of super chats, a lot of what-a-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you're out here doing this, and if you watch long enough, you start to see some contradictions. Anything that gets people angry, anything that gets people riled up is fair game, even if it doesn't match something you said the other day. That's a problem. Watch, listen, think for yourselves. That's all I would say. Including this. I don't do this very often. I'm not going to do this every day. I'm not going to do this every week. I just wanted to get some stuff out that I've been feeling. Nature stress balls. That, yes, but careful when you're squeezing, okay? Stress balls are a little easier to squeeze that hard. There you go. Be like the dude abides, absolutely. Hey, Kamikaze in the house, what's going on? I am slowly getting caught up to to chat. Joe Fisher just throwing Hulk 181 in chat. I have a feeling just to like start some stuff. Oh my god, I'm way behind, aren't I? Sorry, I'm gonna get caught up here. Andy Kaufman was, oh man. Danny Girl Comics and I talk about that all the time. We just want to discuss comics, not all the noise. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I'm glad that kind of backs up what I was saying. Like, I kind of was speaking out of my ass. All right. Well, hey, Decor, I would appreciate if could you. I'm sure you have them. Could you send me unaltered posts of that happening, of the original post? I'm curious. I know what I saw pretty early on. Yeah, and I mean that boy. It doesn't even get into K-pop. I hear you. It doesn't even get into like the quality of comics these days, which I have issues with too. By the way, and small tangent. One of the things I am going to do on this channel is more comic book related content, not just top five not to buy, not just price look backs. I do have a backlog of like collecting strategy videos. I have a review that I need to get done of something that somebody sent me that I want to send out. But I actually want to talk about some comic ass comics too. I'm sorry, but if you're buying into manufactured rarity collectibles, you're eventually going to get burnt. Yeah. I mean, people talk about Hulk 181 was mentioned earlier, Giant Size X-Men #1. There are lots of those out there. New Mutants 98, Batman Adventures 12. That's actually a little bit different because it was a kid's book, so it got a little more beat up. But the other books I mentioned, there's a lot of those out there compared to even like X-Men 1 or and it's not just age. It's not just that. It's the print runs. Now, the print runs were very high back in the day, but obviously comics weren't treated the same way they are, from 1975 and on. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, okay, so Manny, no, I don't take this as disrespect. You're speaking your mind. But I will tell you, you're mistaken. You're mistaken. I was making fun of people in the community that we're talking about. Not and you can say Comic Tom was part of that, and there definitely was some inspiration there, but it was not just him. It was an amalgam of a lot of stuff that I see that I do not appreciate and do not enjoy in the comic book community, but I respect those people's ability to do it. The mystery box thing, though, was not actually like I know people talk about the mannerisms I use there. Part of it was just as a hype person. Part of it was making fun of myself because I use my hands to talk, and there were other parts of it. But the mystery box part actually, it wasn't related to Comic Tom at all. That part was related to mystery boxes in general, and especially back then, everybody had a mystery box, and they all sucked. So it was supposed to be like if I really wanted to come out and make a video, I would do it, dude. This is that character, the comic book hype man, is very much intentionally trying to represent the idea of different personas that you see over and over again in the comic book collecting community. Absolutely, like an amalgamation for sure. I respect what you're saying. A lot of people definitely jumped to that. And I did make a video, by the way, that I talked about something Comic Tom said on his show that seemed very similar to something I said on my show, and I was first, so I made that video. So those are the two ones I made that I think you could be referring to. But yeah, and that's that for sure. That's some of the stuff I love making too. I scooted too far ahead. I'm trying to get caught up. Well, and there's another thing I wanted to say, Decor, and you're talking about profit. I want to say this, and you're going to think I'm immediately talking about you, and because I know you have said this. But there's this other thing too, and I'm not. This is not directed at you. It's directed at people that say this, and you just happen to be one of those people. I'm also a little tired of this. Well, I don't sell comic books. That's a banner I see people like kind of holding up and charging forward with. So, why is selling comic books a bad thing? Why is there pride in not selling comic books? And I know reasons why you might think selling comic books is a bad thing. I'm not stupid. But let me counterpoint here. What is an LCS? Most of the time, it's a person who sells comic books. They just went and got a brick and mortar to do it. They buy collections. They usually buy those collections for a small fraction of what they're worth, and they flip them. Do you not respect comic shops because they sell? I know a lot of people that can't afford to do a brick and mortar comic book store, so they've done online or eBay stores, or they started selling on Whatnot, or they started selling, through their website or stuff like that, or combinations of that. Why should they deserve to be sneered at? Now, judge them on their individual actions. They can do things that result in that kind of feeling about them, but so? I don't understand why that's like a pride point for people. 100%. Yes, agreed. That's a good question. It's something that I think the biggest reason is because eBay is so freaking buyer protected that they probably don't have to worry about it. I mean, have you ever heard of somebody like? I mean, of course you have, but you don't really hear about people not getting their money back from eBay very often. Yeah, that's true too. That perhaps. For sure. I'm trying to get past some of this stuff. Man, I'd feel weird making that. I had planned out a few more. I was like, some X-Men stuff that I feel pretty confident in, but it's so easy. I'm never far away from it. Stuff like this still makes me very happy. This is what it's all about, and that's another part of it too. When people talk, I wasn't highlighting comments. I'm sorry, I wasn't highlighting comments. Part of the reason that this stuff bothers me is because we talk about sellers and we treat them like they're not collectors. Pretty much every seller I've ever talked to is a collector. Most of them are selling that stuff to get what they're truly going after in their collection. I hope so. I mean, that'd be nice. Why do we only hear of the bad things on these selling platforms and not the positives? Are we at the point where the negative is the only thing that matters in a conversation or post? I think it's the same reason why. Look at a Google review of any hospital. Do you think a lot of people get their lives saved at those hospitals and those emergency rooms, or they get a wound treated? Yeah. Look at the review. They're pretty bad. Because when you go to the ER and you have to wait 6 hours, when you go to the ER and they screw something up or whatever it is, it's going to leave a lot bigger impression. Absolutely. It's something I definitely plan on doing, Ganja Bar's Medium. That's a great name, by the way. I like that name. That's true too. Yeah, if you're a buyer, it's doing really good. A lot of the people who spend tons on comics are the ones who complain in weird ways. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Decor says, I take no offense in anything that is discussed. It's a conversation, nothing more 100%. I don't at all, never have had an issue with people selling, buying books or making money. But when I say it, it's just fact. You say it, but and again, I really, really, really didn't want to do this with you, Decor. I didn't want to like specifically talk about something like that, but we're here, right? There's been some times I've noticed that you kind of use that as a rebuttal, though. Well, I don't sell comics, or I'll never sell comics. You know, I know you could make a lot of money, but you'll never see me do it. Why not, man? Pick up two, sell one, and keep the other for yourself, and then the one you sell, use that to get some other comics that you think are really cool. Like I love seeing your content when you post stuff about pickups you've made. We have similar tastes in a lot of things, and I like seeing what you post, man. It'd be cool if you could get more of it. Yeah, sorry I wasn't highlighting stuff, guys. This isn't StreamYard where you just click on the comments. I have to like, if I don't click away from this, it never goes away, and the comment just stays up there forever, and it can be a problem. There you go. Big Russ is a legit dude. Great guy. I've had interactions with him multiple times. If you want to pick up ASM 92300 from him, you should do it if that's what you're in the market for. 100%. Like you should definitely, to your point, Decor, you should definitely look at each individual and each business, and judge accordingly. And it's up to everybody where they set the line for whether or not a business is ethical or moral. There are businesses I do not support. There are actually a lot of businesses I don't support. I vote with my dollars. And where I've gotten careful with it is I don't necessarily talk about the businesses I don't support too much, because it's a personal reason for a lot of people. And you come right up against that tribalism. And it's something that I've had to be careful with. Also, you know, it's a little cliche at this point because I've heard other people say it, but it's something I really felt about during C2E2. With great power comes great responsibility. And let's say I'm wrong. Let's say I say something about a business and I'm wrong. And let's say people take my opinion and they go, well, I'm not going to support that business. And then I turn out to be wrong. All I can do is share my experiences. All I can do is say how I feel about things. But I try to be very, very careful in what I say and how I say it, especially when it comes to prepared videos. You guys get a little more off the cuff on the live streams. Whatnot ain't even that evil. I've never purchased on Whatnot, but I've had plenty of fun just hanging out in auctions. I'm never going to say never about buying on a platform for the right price. I've picked up books on Whatnot. I've sold books on Whatnot. I had one bad experience. I got very close to talking about this one publicly because, at a certain point you kind of have to talk about things, right? Like I was talking about, you have to, if there's a injustice happening, if there's something that's that bad, you do kind of have to step up and talk about it if it gets to a certain point. And I bought two New York City Comic-Con exclusives because I intended to sell them, and I knew that those were two good ones to pick up to sell. I didn't take them away from anybody that wanted to buy them. Anybody could have bought them. They had plenty available in the buy it nows. I wasn't going to be at New York City Comic Con. I didn't want to try to fight a website or an auction after the fact. And then that seller waited, I think, 6 weeks to sell those books, even though on stream they said, we're going to ship these out as soon as we get back from New York City Comic Con. Yep. Well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to order from that company again. I mean, again, never say never. Maybe I will, but I really don't think I will. Let's see here. Yeah, I just I guess I see what you're saying, Journey. I think being offended. I have mixed feelings on Jim Jeffries, but he has a great. I think it was Jim Jeffries. Maybe it's a different comedian. There's a comedian who has a great bit called about being offended. He's like, no one cares if you're offended. It doesn't do anything. I'm offended. Okay, moving on. Like it doesn't ultimately matter too much. It's not my nature, and I don't see my books or my collection in that way. I honestly don't have the mentality in me. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like Comic Booker says, I'm too lazy to set up selling system and collecting. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with selling. Not on its own. I think we all can relate to that one. Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would say is really have a plan for selling stuff off from your collection. You don't want to regret that. Hey, X11, thank you for the moderation help. I see some messages you deleted there. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And dude, shipping is a whole nother thing. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's like no offense or what's the other things people say? So nothing matters before the but. Like I respect you and da 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 da, but there's some truth to that. But it also things can be two things at once. Like you can have respect for somebody and still disagree with what they do, right? That can exist. If I had endless funds in space, I would never sell. But unfortunately, I'm a comic hoarder and live in the real world. Exactly. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And it might have been 2 months. I would need to go back and look at the timelines again. I reached out to the seller, and I was literally about a day away from like, God, am I going to have to make a post and like blast this massive seller? I don't want to do that, but like at a certain point, people should know, right? Like that's the way I look at it. I think I'm a big believer too in this. Everybody makes mistakes. I've made mistakes. So many mistakes in my life. And it's not making mistakes that is anybody's problem, generally speaking. Some mistakes are pretty bad. But how you deal with those mistakes speaks volumes about you as a person. There are so many things that are wonderful that have happened because people made mistakes. And how you react to that, how you acknowledge it, how you own it, how you move forward from it, how you make it up to that person, all those things can really matter. And that's all I'll say is that I leave wiggle room for that. The main reason I cull the accidental multiples and stuff I've fallen out of love with and bring it to LCS for credit at a loss is just because of space. Yeah, I get that. I absolutely get that. Here for the porn bots. I'm offended that you're not offended. That's offensive. How dare you? Yeah, I'll tell you, like, I love comic book collecting. I love comic book collecting. The biggest win, the biggest dopamine rush I've ever gotten from things that aren't like, serious interpersonal relationships when it comes to material things is finding a comic book that I love and that I want, that I've been collecting or hunting for a long time at a killer price. It feels so good. You're like, yes, awesome. This is exactly what I wanted. This is an amazing price on it. A yard sale find or whatever, it feels great. It feels like, I imagine with those people that sit out there with metal detectors, I imagine it's what they feel like, right? When they finally find a gold coin or whatever it is. It's great. The second best feeling is finding a book that is valuable, but it isn't something that you want. And so many times what I do is I see that in front of me and I'm like, well, this is, I'll just use an example. It's $100 book. It's $20. Okay. I buy that book. I usually end up selling it for less than $100 because I just don't believe, top dollar for there's some books that like they have to be sold at top dollar. Like if you had an X-Men 1, Giant Size X-Men, blah blah blah, if you had those books, yeah, you should get top dollar for it. But I want to pass it on to somebody else. I want to make some money for me. I want to give somebody else a great deal. Give away lots of great books. I sell books for lower than what they go for. Hopefully people will get that book for a better deal. There's a thing too that happens when it comes to like Whatnot, when it happens on eBay, that people forget about, which is, I live in an area where I don't really have a true LCS. Where do you think I get my comics? Online, Whatnot, eBay. I've occasionally find like antique stores and those kinds of deals, like I'm talking about. And I journey to other comic book shops, of course, when I can. But that's how I get comic books. If people weren't posting those things or selling them that way, I wouldn't get them. So have some respect for the fact that the gray market does serve a purpose for people. I'm one of those people that benefits on the buying side. It's very stressful. I agree with that, Bryce. Yeah, I mean it's such a whole thing, man. Like it happened. I don't buy from them. I moved on. I went my way. They went theirs. I don't think either of us are too broken up about it. Ooh, has forced me to videotape the moment when I win important auctions for many reasons, such as some sellers are moving comics too soon without the comic info on screen. Yeah, I hear you. One of the best tips I ever got about Whatnot early on was from Skeff, who I think is still in here. Skeff did this awesome tip, which is anytime you win something, take a screenshot. Genius. I never thought of it. Such a great tip. It's very similar to that. It shouldn't happen that way, but it does. This has been a great stream, but this East Coaster has to get to bed. Hey, have a good night, man. I appreciate you hanging out, Big Russ. Yep. I give comics away to the LCS on Free Comic Book Day. Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Everyone makes mistakes, but some people don't own up to those mistakes or even really truly learn from any mistakes or just continue to do what they do with everybody else victimizing them. Yeah, I mean, sure. 100%. I'm not going to sit here and defend every person in this community. I'm not going to do it. Some people don't deserve it. I do think like there is a situation. I want to give people their forum to say their perspective. Sometimes I think that perspective is interesting. I've spoken with people that have been considered controversial in this community, and I'm pretty good judge of character. I feel like I can kind of see through a lot of real BS when people present it. And let's just say, like, I could think of two examples. There's one person I've spoken to where I feel like they're genuinely a good person, and I think they're at the center of some controversies, and they don't deserve to be. I've spoken to another individual, and I genuinely get weird vibes talking to that person and think that there's something up. So people are people, man. People are people. Yeah, that's a good point. Star says, I'm going to try streaming on Drip again. Hopefully the shipping works better for me this time. Yeah, so that's definitely... Sorry. There's some ins and outs to streaming on Drip. But the other thing you got to remember, too, is that compare Whatnot and Drip. Whatnot is a $4 billion company last time I checked. Drip is not. Drip is not a $4 billion company. There are some hiccups streaming on Drip. But I will say that I feel like they have a little bit more of the right attitude, a little bit more transparency. They still do some things very wrong. They do, and their users let them know about it. And every month, they let their sellers into an AMA where they let them stand up and say over like a conference call what they want to say, and they listen to it and they respond to it. Now, do they change everything based on what those sellers say? No. There's been a lot of changes like shipping policy, etc., where they've kind of like held their ground, like, no, we're doing this. And whatever, that's just how they have to do their business. I think it's probably very important to them. That's how they do their business. But they still listen to all that. And by the way, some of these people are very toxic, like very like it's interesting. And they still sit there and listen to all of it. There's points for that, even if you don't change what you're doing. And they have reversed some changes on some stuff too, which is kind of interesting to see. And Whatnot has on occasion as well a few things. There is a paid. They were going to test pilot a program to pay to get your stream featured, basically. I'm kind of butchering that, but that's basically what they were going to do. And they walked that back a little bit, and said that they were going to look at some things a little bit further, because everybody was like, whoa, what? You got to give some credit for when you can hate on things all you want. When people listen, and do what you're asking them to do, you got to give them credit too. That's how you positively reinforce stuff. Is your boycott of that store who gave you crap about being on your phone? So yes, I have still not gone into that shop. I really do want to go and talk to the owner, but here's the kind of person that I am. I haven't gone and done it, even though I kind of want to, because I'm worried part of the reason I'd want to do it is for like follow-up content, and that kind of weirds me out, and I don't like to do that. So that's kind of how I feel. Figure drawing, you can do the clips on Whatnot now. Oh, that's cool. They have that built in. That's cool. Hey, you're still here. That's awesome. Thanks for being a part of the show, Skeff. I appreciate it. And everybody else in here as well. I appreciate that from everybody. Decor, K-pop, figure drawing, Starset, Fight the Good Fight, Comic Journey, everybody hanging in here. If I didn't name you, it's not on purpose, guys. I'm broke on the North Pole in a van floating down by the big river and skit. I love it. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's good to know. Yeah, I would say like be proactive about the screenshot. Here's the thing and this is actually another thing that Skeff taught me. I shouldn't say taught me, but a thing he told me that I really respect. If you see a seller listing comic book 79 or lot 16 or auction 14 or comic random whatever, that's part of the reason you want to be there. If you see a comic book seller listing, I meant to show some of this stuff off. Want to give a shout out real quick to Fulcrum Comics, which is Boba Fett. Picked up this Tales of the Jedi, Dark Lords of the Sith from him on his sale. If you see a seller listing Star Wars, Tales of the Jedi, Dark Lords of the Sith, #1, that's a good sign. Just so you know, as a seller, that takes time. Like, that's not... It takes a little bit longer on Drip. On Whatnot, though, you still have to, you either have to upload a CSV or you have to enter it manually. Since I showed that off, let me show this off, too. Also picked up... this is from Nerd to Ween over on Drip. He had a Fantastic Four Friday sale. Picked up FF60 there. Not a bad copy, but not an amazing copy either, but a great price. I appreciate that. And then I also picked up FF347, which is, if I'm not mistaken, first cameo of the new FF team with Wolverine and Hulk and everybody, Spidey. So anyway, I just want to take a second to shout that out, because I meant to earlier. Let me highlight chat here again. I can't take screenshots sometimes, though. Some sellers take the comic off. That's what we just talked about. Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm trying to get caught up again. So out of all the things I'll say about Whatnot, that is one of the eternally irritating things to me about Whatnot is why the disparity between feature sets on Android and iOS. I know from software development standpoint that sometimes it makes sense to prioritize iOS development on an app. Usually that reason is because it's easier to pirate the app on Android. Let's say you have a premium paid app that you want users to spend $2.99 a month, $9.99 a year, $4.99 unlock, whatever. Well, from a app developer standpoint, if I know it's harder to pirate that iOS app, I know I'm going to get more revenue on the App Store. Whereas on the Android store, you have to worry about somebody potentially pirating that app. You're probably going to cut into some theoretical sales. But newsflash, there's a pretty even market split between Android and Apple. So if you're developing a sales platform or like a quality of life app or a social media app, it behooves you to develop both of those apps somewhat similarly. And if you think I'm exaggerating, there are features that iOS has had for a very long time that Android still hasn't gotten, I believe, on the Whatnot app, or at least that was the case for a very long time. That's right. If that makes you feel better. Yeah, they changed the drip selling. It's pretty cool. Oh man, it's the worst. It's the worst. I mean, not literally, but it's pretty bad. There you go, Kamikaze. You're one of the good ones. So the way I look at it, kind of to wrap up not wrap up, but kind of wrap up the discussion around what I'm seeing. If I was feeling better, I probably would have been a little bit more animated for you guys. I also got a little blown away by Starset's A-OK. But what I would say is there is just a ton. There's a ton of stuff I see happening that is really unfortunate in our group. And it's not all the stuff that people glob onto, the C2E2, whatnot, this individual, that individual. Often those situations are much more nuanced than we like to believe. And the other aspect here is that the counterculture that's built up around that, the people that, and I get it, some of these things we're tired of hearing about them. I totally get it. But beware the cult of the opposite personality. That's kind of my moral of the story for tonight. And it's just because I'm so sick of seeing that too. I'm so sick of it. Straight uppercut. I'm highlighting Starset's comment here. There we go. Have a good night. Thank you so much for everything. I can't even begin to say that here. Thank you again, man. Have a good night. Get some sleep. Hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and hope you have a Merry Christmas. And we'll be in touch, man. The Who? I think I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're referring to. But I'm just so worried about it when it comes to how people react. And for mental health reasons, this is a lot of it. Yeah, that's what I'll choose to say about that. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about. Get ready to lose yourself without me, because we're going to talk about the real Slim Shady. Eminem, ASM number 1, 2022. Let's talk about this for a second. Um, you got to be careful, CJ. You got to be careful googling stuff with what you were talking about last night on your show. So I made a post about the Eminem thing earlier, and I want to talk about it for a minute. Okay, so for those not paying attention, the first thing that happened is it was announced that the Eminem shop, no, not the lovely store that sells the candy that won't melt in your hand but melts in your mouth, in Las Vegas. I think that might be their only location. There's probably other locations. I don't know. Cool store to visit if you like M&Ms, by the way. I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the rapper, Eminem, 8 Mile, baby. So he's releasing a comic book. He released a comic book on his website. Salvador LaRocca cover. By the way, Salvador LaRocca is not my favorite artist. I'll just say that. Art is very subjective. But yeah, anyways. I do think it's cool. I like Eminem. I like Eminem, full disclosure. Not really super up on his like recent career. But through his first 4 albums at least, I was a pretty big fan. Saw him in concert and everything. So back in the day, on tour with Limp Bizkit, yeah, Snoop Dogg, Exhibit, D12. Boy, that was a concert. Anyways, so I like Eminem. This book's coming out. I know it's going to be a hot book, and I picked one up. I picked one up because I was going to flip it. I didn't love the cover. If I'd loved the cover, I would have bought one for myself, but I picked it up to flip it. Good point. Yeah, actually, Extreme X-Men. I think Extreme X-Men. I have to go back and look and see who inked that, because I feel like his inker helped him out here. Yeah. Anyways, I agree. Extreme X-Men was good. So it comes out. I picked up one to flip because I knew it would be hot. I hear, by the way, they're shipping terrible. So whatever. I guess you could say jokes on the reseller or whatever. I guess they're shipping in an envelope. And that's pretty much it. Awesome. So then, shortly after that was announced, it was announced that there's going to be a Spotlight variant, which with Eminem and Spider-Man in color, with the rest of the cover in black and white. And that was going to be limited to 1,000, and it was going to be sold on thehall.com, which is what, formerly ReadPop, right? Am I wrong about that? I know I ordered from them a couple times. I ordered their John Tyler Christopher negative space variant, and I ordered one other book from them before. Was it the X-Men 1? J. Scott Campbell I ordered from them, I think, maybe? I can't remember. Anyways, so this morning it goes live, and I'm following along the Department of Comics Discord and a couple other places with people's efforts to try to get these things. And I'm trying to get one too. Why not? Again, to flip. For one thing, I know they're going to ship better than MNMstore.com or whatever. And what really got to me is everybody's reaction to this thing. Oh, this is a shit show. Oh, like all over and over and over again. And I get it. I'm not hating on any of those people. I get it. And I was making fun too, like posting like the loading circle pictures or whatever. Like, yeah, totally. But what did you expect? When is any hot, think about the CBE comic book exclusive Star Wars books that came out, That was a shit show. I think John Tyler Christopher, when he launched the Boba Fett negative space variants, that was a shit show. Any like hot exclusive that people are aware of that comes out on a website, it's always a shit show. It's always a shit show. There's bots. There's people trying to buy too many copies. Too many. That's very relative. But I try to buy one of each, for example, and that's all I try to do. But I was successful on the Eminem store. I wasn't successful on the Hall, and it sucks. But that's the way it is for anything. Like a sneakers or a hot new, like think about Xbox One, PS5 when those came out. Anything, fucking even movie tickets sometimes or concert tickets. The friggin' Taylor Swift thing that just happened with Ticketmaster and all that, which is a completely different situation. But the point is, it always happens. What do you expect? And the part of the reaction, it's so funny. I just saw B Price and you're mentioning the Taylor Swift thing. Um, I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything too bad in chat here. Yeah, the Moon Knight took forever to ship. I don't really know at the end of the day whose fault that was. But yeah, I mean, I got one of those. It took forever to ship. It's just one of those things where it's like I don't know what people expect. It'd be ideal if there was a better way for that to work. But that's just how it works. I wish there was like there's probably like a way to design a system that's like a virtual ticket system. Like it generates a code for each person as they appear, and it only hands out a certain number of tokens. And then if those people don't buy, it generates new tokens or something like that. Yeah, but even the JTC drops, there were issues with that people were having too, right? Kamikaze with the latest ones, I think. If I could be mistaken, that's what I think happened. And then there's parts of that too, right? Like that's an artist who has a commanding following, who's able to do that on their own site. That's not always true for everybody. A lot of people can't do that, and this is obviously something that probably came, through Eminem more than anything else. So it's just such a weird thing. Like I kind of relate this a little bit to the convention lines, a little bit, just in that feeling of like, can I get a copy, that kind of thing. There are things that these websites can do better. Don't get me wrong. They can clearly list the limits. Like there was some discrepancy on the limits talked about for this, because in the post, the hall said you could limit one per customer, but I know people who were saying that they were able to get multiple. And there's people that said they saw that there was a limit of 2. When I tried to buy it, I never saw, all I saw was loading, trying to add to cart, getting an error, and then item is out of stock. Eventually is kind of the different way I saw it. But yeah, it's one of those things it's really something I'd love to fix, but it's just something like, if you're going to release something online and everybody wants it, what are you going to do? Like, short of having like some kind of a virtual ticket system or some kind of token that gets applied to the first people that come in, maybe that would work. I don't know enough about web development to say whether or not that would be something that's doable, and doable to the point where it would be so flawless that it would make a difference to integrate that, to engineer that. People say that stuff. It's like, that costs money to do that. You can't just develop that. So actually, I think I 100% agree with you here, Decor. People expect a shit show, but honestly, going fingers crossed that they at least get what they wanted at the end of the shit show. I go into all those things hoping for the best, but absolutely knowing I'm in bad. Yeah, like I showed up trying to get one of those. Again, it was to flip. Like I don't say that with any shame. But I tried to get one. I didn't go crazy or anything like that. Because I'm hoping that I can buy that and sell it. In my head, I was like, that's a double. To me, that's an easy, like, all day double comic. You're going to get double your money for it. And if that's the case, then, that helps me out. It helps me get something later down the road for my own personal collection. And by the way, I'll briefly entertain, like, I can see some people, the moral argument there, like, yeah, but if you didn't try to buy it, then the real fans that would want to get it could get it. I know where you're coming from if you say that, but there's so many people out there that didn't even know that this was showing up on the haul, and that's where that's where you could get it. That couldn't be there because they're working. A lot of different reasons, and they're going to want a chance to pick it up on the secondary market. But anyways, besides that, that's how I feel too. I feel that way, Decor. Like I don't want to. There's a lot of glob chat. A lot of glob chat. We're going to have to do some glob content, guys. Hey, Kamikaze, thanks for being here. Have a great night, man. We are going to wrap up kind of soon, but... Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Anyways, yeah. I'm generally a person who hopes for the best, expects the worst. I usually say it the other way around. Expect the worst, hope for the best. You're usually not going to be let down if you feel that way. That's usually just a coping mechanism for me. But yeah, it's one of those things that I just don't understand. I don't understand, like, I mean, I totally do understand why people will feel hurt that they didn't get that. But at the end of the day, like for someone like me, like if I'm pissed off about it, I'm like, fucking the hall, blah 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 blah, because I wanted to resell it. Like, so what, man? I missed out on that one. Like, oh man, this is gonna get really cliche. Like the wolf doesn't get mad if it misses the jackrabbit. It just looks for another jackrabbit. Shit. Yeah, that would be cool. I can't disagree with that, Cali Comics. He's the perfect guy to do that. Good pull. Good pull. Lobo is Glob. Globo Gym. There's got to be some Globo Gym comment out there, right? All right, guys. I'm probably gonna wrap it up here soon. The only other thing I'll say, just because my throat's giving out more than anything else, I'm gonna start coughing soon, I think. If anybody, I do this at the end of most of my live streams. If anybody does anything they want me to bring up or I haven't discussed, this is your chance to get into a live chat. You want my quick take on something, or there's some news that's happened recently. I'll especially say that now because I haven't been on for a while. There might be some stuff backed up. Oh, I get it. I thought you meant Lobo like the DC character, Jay, but you probably meant Lobo like Wolf, right? Like, okay, that makes more sense to me now. Comic book chat, I was just like, oh, Lobo, and I was like, Lobo. I use Beard Guys, Beard Oil. Is that their name? Guys with like a Z, I think. Just because it has it has like argan oil, which is the most important one in my opinion, avocado oil, almond oil. I have not been doing it nearly enough. I've been really, really not treating the beard right, and I don't like it. The Globetrotters. I need to highlight your comment. People are like, what the hell is he talking about? There we go. And then I use a beard wash by Beard Brand. That's like their, I think it's like their original or something like that. It's like a pine scented. I actually don't like scented beard wash, but I actually found it on clearance at Target, and I like the Beard Brand stuff a lot. It's just kind of expensive. So I've been using that. I actually have kind of been dealing with a problem, and I'll comment on it because it's probably kind of obvious. Like if you see the redness in my skin, I've been dealing with an infection. Partially, like here's some personal information, guys. I use a CPAP machine, and when it gets cold out and you have moisture around your face, it's easier for stuff to happen. And I have kind of an infection I've been dealing with, and it kind of sucks, and it kind of makes me feel bad. But it also is not great for your hair, like your skin under your hair. You guys are great. I love you guys. Glob job. There's a difference between trying to resell it for an exorbitant profit versus reselling for a reasonable amount, basically trading it in for a book you want. Yeah, I that's how I feel, Jay. Sorry, Price. Jay was right below you. Globetrotters. I love it. Callie just shaved his beard. It was just as long as yours. And so that's the other part of it is I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. My beard is not anywhere near as healthy as the last time I had a long beard. Part of it is also the lighting on these videos makes my beard look a lot shinier, and that's not really what it looks like in real life. Like if you saw me in like natural light. Let's see if I can show you guys a photo of me before my daughter was born. Let's see what I can find here. Now, granted, I'm younger in these photos I'm about to show you, but it's really unfortunate. You know, a lot of this beard growth happened during COVID. You know, during lockdown, a lot of stressful stuff going on in my personal life. Let me see here. That's about the right time frame. So here is. Oh, let me turn up the brightness here. Here's more what my beard. This was me years ago. Now, granted, it wasn't as gray, but it was a lot healthier hair, and that's kind of the main point. And it was a little bit longer. I know that doesn't show it perfectly. And that's not, I don't think that's even the longest it got. So the moral of the story is, where I'm going with that, is if you are going to grow your hair out, grow your beard, be conscious of what you're eating. Be conscious of, I've not been eating well the last couple of years. Be conscious of stress, how you wash it, how you care for it. I saw somebody in here saying they just washed with shampoo and conditioner. I do not recommend that. I do not recommend that. Well, so Callie, you're talking about nice and straight. Like, doesn't mean anything. My hair is not curly; it's curvy. Like so, I can never have a straight beard. I use a heated beard comb, and this is actually after using a heated beard comb, and that makes my hair straighter. But my hair is naturally like wiry, and you can't really tell by looking at the top of my head because it's when my hair gets longer. That's when it gets that way. That's when my hair really finds that. And that depends more on just your hair. So my beard is always going to look, I think Journey in here said that, it's always going to look scraggly compared to somebody else, or scruffy compared to somebody else who has that very straight hair. I am super jealous, envious of those guys that have that really straight, really clean looking facial hair. I wish I had that. It's just not genetically possible for me though. I do not have a beard oil brand. I am not a sponsor. Not a sponsor. Yeah. So the best rule for that, The best rule for that is never do this with the beard. Never go in like this. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. You can do this. Even better is to use a beard comb and do that. But when you're doing this, people that they scratch their skin or they pick at things or they fondle their beard, all you're doing there, you're kind of damaging your hair. I've got some gnarly eyebrow hairs too. I got this doesn't happen by accident, and if I spent more time, it would look better. Headless Hammerhead in the house. Love it, man. Love seeing you in here, buddy. You're another great member of this community that I wanted to call out real fast. If you don't know, Headless Hammerhead runs Dangerous Waters Comics and more. Great friend of the channel. Oh yeah. I mean, well, sure. I mean, we just had my 40. God, that was a few months ago already. We just had my 40th birthday stream. Oh God. Yeah, beard comb. I have some weird name. I can't remember the name of it. It's not. There's like two. There's one really popular one. This is kind of the less popular one. I probably need it. Need to change it out at some point. It's kind of old now. Oh my God. Yeah. It's challenging. Like, and it's one of those things too where I never like this because my hair almost grows in two peaks. I want it to be longer in the middle. So unless I trim my beard like that, which, I could do, but then you're losing some length, right? It's never going to look that way. So I kind of try to do this when I heat it up, and I don't know, like most people, I don't love the way that I look. I've got a full beard, use CPAP, and have dry skin also. Yeah, it's a problem. And by the way, my doctor was like, you get a good seal with that? And yeah. By the way, pro tip, if you have CPAP and you have a full beard, mask seal is a big thing, and this is life-saving information here. Mask seal is a big thing. There's memory foam cushions, and they work a lot better with hair because they can kind of fill in the gaps of the hair a little bit better. Yeah. I gotcha. Like an Amish dude. Yeah, I also don't like that too because I get like the little side curls here that I trim those down, but then that never really looks fully right either. I don't really like that. Oh man, it got to me. It got to me, Journey. How would you feel if I called your hands spindly? Hand model. It would probably be really good for it, actually. Oof. Well, part of it is that's the reason that you got to get beard wash in there. Every time you wash, you got to really get it into your skin. Just like your scalp will dry out if you don't get into your scalp